My poem is entitled Be Remembered. This epic is a classic dialectic with action that is hectic. Others would rather we reject it, turn aside and neglect it. But we rejoice and recollect it, never disrespect it, ponder and reflect on it, inspire and perfect on it. Zero to hero if you act on it. Tyrants try to censor it, but the oppressed resurrect it, teach it and preach it with spiritual speech that exposes deceit, leaving devils in retreat like the ice before the heat. Empowering the weak, blessed are the meek, through their prayers tyrants are left to weep their fate on the trash heap. This story is full of much glory. Listen to the hero's inventory. Courage that flourish, virtuosity in generosity, sacrifice to suffice, determination and exemplification, focus unbroken, compassion in action, perseverance, not just a hollow appearance, dedication for inspiration, honesty without apology, loyalty with Quranic warranty, conviction without fiction, fortitude for the multitude, responsibility in the face of hostility, and wisdom to overcome satanic schism. A leader of the youth and a sword from heaven, endowed with perfection to oppose oppression and evil transgression, a satanic aggression, leaving humanity with severe depression. A polymath who sat upon the prophet's lap with an intellect sharpened to precision, with a foresight, a vision to make a historical decision. Guided by the prophetic intuition, strengthened by a righteous coalition, ready to correct a bad condition. He embarked on a journey that was murky, thirsty without mercy, a fate unworthy, the world topsy-turvy. Led by the scurvy, robbing fervently, we need an insurgency with an urgency and emergency. Stop this perversity, tyrannical fraternity. Next to the river rested the deliverer in a land unfamiliar, a reflection of the prophet in a mirror, hated by the sinner, descended from the one who chewed on the liver. Upon these banks, tears would mix with water, witness to the slaughter, the weeping of a daughter, a father, victim of a marauder, agent of satanic order. In Damascus, the pretender revelled in the massacres. By Allah's law, the hero laid. By Allah's law, the villain lied. Seeking to misguide, how vain those full of pride, how their souls died, in the hell they will reside. Of the truth they denied, of the heavenly abode, let the believers stride. If Hussein can give up his life for Allah, why can't we give up our beds for Allah? In this moment of destiny, Iman reaches its intensity, unfazed by the immensity of facing agents of tyranny. Quran and Sunnah provide the synergy. Listen to the litany and watch the chivalry. Unparalleled in history, ain't no mystery. He got the moral victory without trickery or infamy. A trait from infancy, devoid of delinquency, guided by parents with stringency and sympathy, the Prophet completed the Trinity. Pleasing Allah with consistency and persistency. Time to stimulate and emulate in opposing villainy, an act of bravery, never tolerate slavery or knavery by those who speak of justice vaguely. Living stately, far removed from being saintly, living depravedly, disdainfully, disgracefully, lackadaisically. What do you expect of those who act lazily and celebrate the death of the Prophet's family famously? How they acted courageously and gracefully, how they hung to the truth tenaciously and were blessed by Allah favourably. Hear the words and come to your sense, and with the ignorance please dispense, allow justice to commence, end the silly pretense and get off the fence, stand in lines of defence, a responsibility for some too immense. What will you do when the grave condense and the questions commence, your fate in suspense? No feigning innocence. Ahl Bayt recall a time of Islam in its prime, lack of crime, ruling with justice sublime. Now government is organised crime with a bestial mind and leaders more slippery than slime. I have no empathy for the enemy, while Ahl Bayt lays breathlessly an act of heresy and barbarity. Your true nature is in clarity. Your leadership and irregularity in a state of unpopularity. Your nature is vulgarity. Your expression of Islam, a hilarity. Of the Ahl Bayt we stand in solidarity, and their descendants for posterity, a spiritual prosperity for those with sincerity. In this day and age, a rarity. Upon this ragged plain of Karbala, an Umayyad empire you sought to build at the hands of a murderer. But from these timeless stones let the voices of the righteous be known. Justice prevailed and the empire failed, even if our voices wailed, and Hussein's last breath exhaled, and the ships of the death sailed, of whom the angels hailed, and the delights of heaven were unveiled. Of these immigrants did the Ummah care? Of the women and the children did you hear their despair? Of good conduct to the Prophet's family be aware. The tale of Karbala reads like a Greek tragedy, all the more sadder because it's a reality. Of ancient family, of prophetic line, and a mercy to mankind. In the Quran their honour enshrined, now in contempt and malign, sacrificed on satanic shrine. Now is the time to put right this crime. A word of protest or charity that is blessed will put right this travesty and bring back sanity. In Hussein's affliction there was affection, of God he did often mention. His soldiers at attention, their bravery beyond comprehension, worthy of honourable mention. Outnumbered 416 to 1. And yet it was Yazid's troops who were on the run. They found it was no fun to fight men whose Iman shone brighter than the sun. Upon that day the 72 were the better, released from the chains of a satanic fetter, no longer held by the devilish debtor, released by the hands of the soul collector, death, the faith detector. Their legends and bones will never grow old, men and women whose bravery was bold, from an unbreakable mould, steady on God's road, guided by a chivalrous code, bestowed by the one from whom mercy flowed, with a treasury that will never erode. This life is the temporary abode, thank the one for whom your life is owed. Earthly kings behave very bold. They inscribe upon the remnants of empire, now very old, words of arrogant deeds. I am Yazid, God's shadow on earth. My works prevail. Let the children of the Prophet wail. This is vengeance for bad as well. Of Allah's faith he did seek to quell. The believers knew his fate very well. See what was the end of those who rejected faith. Surah Al-An'am, verse 11, a lesson from heaven. Did not the servant not advise well, ponder and listen to the words meant well? I will never give Yazid my hand like a man who has been humiliated, nor will I flee like a slave. I have not risen to spread evil or to show off. Rather, I have left to restore the teachings of my grandfather Muhammad, and I only desire to enjoin good values and prevent evil. Sentences devoid of being deceitful, but meaningful for the corrupt, defiance unbelievable. Of this old story you ask, is there relevance? Listen to the evidence. From Belmarsh to Bahrain, hear the cries of the believers in pain, while the corrupt toast with champagne and no shame, the innocent they blame. Stand up for justice and proclaim, of terror you error, your deeds we shall measure. At the end of your life there be no treasure. You were an oppressor and not very clever. And for what crime did they oppress a people armed with prayers and less? And the women they did undress, evil masters they did seek to impress. Beware the one who answers those in distress by punishing those who transgress. Ali Asghar dead on the desert floor, a Syrian child washed ashore. Of these tragedies we say no more, no more, as we devour wealth galore, with father's tears ringing in our ears. From land to land and time slipping through sand, unwrapped the message of this divine plan. From Ferguson and the blood of Mike Brown, by police gunned down, another sundown, parents grieving before the sundown. Of Trayvon Martin the world is still smarting, Another violent departing. What was the message they was imparting? Black lives are worth less. Remember Eric Garner, breathless. On British shores, Ian Tomlin's family shed tears galore, a victim of state brutality, in this day and age a normality. With the hand of Hussain on our shoulders, our voices are bolder, a million truth soldiers with words that cause empires to smoulder. In the gardens of Gaza, fades the children's laughter, the situation a genocidal disaster. To these actions we answer. Here comes the banner of the master, held by the hand of the prophetic martyr, owned by the Indian farmer. The sacrifice of Imam Hussain is not limited to one country or nation, but it is the hereditary state of the brotherhood of all of mankind. The blood of Karbala is the ink that links to oppression. We will no longer blink. For those on truth, often the end came in a noose, because they refuse a truce to those who the truth is loose. Take a stand even when you're abandoned by every man. That was the Hussain plan, the best man, inspiring those in a jam to excel and remove the tyrants from the land. From that day to the ending of the world, they shall be remembered. That day cleansed the heart of any vile condition and filled it with a noble disposition. And those who ran away will accurse they were not there that day, and think their honour cheap. Gone is the time to weep when faced with eternal sleep. Let the name of Hussain be remembered with honour, be remembered with sacrifice, be remembered with blood, be remembered with good over evil, of life after death, and Islam triumphant. For justice he never surrendered. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.